So the first question I have for you is how did you become interested in working in motion design and illustration?
It's a really long story. So growing up, I was always the creative kid. I was always interested in drawing. I considered it my hobby for the longest time, but I didn't really consider it as an actual career until high school, around like my junior or senior year. I did take a like alternative like STEM job just in case, like my parents like get worried sometimes, like, oh no, she's gonna probably major in art. But I ended up majoring in art anyways because it's what I like to do. Um, I had a really strong background in illustration. I drew a lot of fan art. That's how I started. I did watch movies and played video games while growing up, but I didn't really consider working in those industries. Just, yeah, I was focusing on just like drawing and illustration in general. And I did a bit of design. But what really pushed me towards at least the general direction towards film was that I volunteered at I wouldn't say an elementary school, but it was like a learning center. And I taught low income kids how to read. And to teach them how to read, we would read them children's storybooks. And they would have pictures and like very simple like sentences. And it was very interesting just seeing them trying to like read and learn English because their first language wasn't English. It was a different language where they spoke at home. And really the pictures in the books really helped them learn. Like that's how they understand. It's practically a universal language. And that's what really shocked me. Like I drew like art and seeing that art applied in literature, which kids consume, um, it's just shares a message that could be understood, like regardless of any language barriers. My journey being an ATEC student and navigating which creative field I was in, it was a huge, it's like a huge, like lots of experimentation because I basically learned a bit of every skill in the general industry. So I started off in illustration. I drew a lot in high school, like in elementary school. That was my background. And going into ATEC, which you had to apply to the animation industry, I was in design and production for the first 2 years of my undergraduate. And in that pathway, I picked up a bunch of things like design, bit of motion graphics, UX, and video editing, which I've done for a student organization throughout my undergrad. And so I was more of a 2D kid, like always have been and still is. And then on my junior year, I applied to the animation pathway, which is mainly 3D oriented. So I got in and I learned a bit of 3D stuff, didn't really enjoy it, but I was still like, yeah, I'm an animation kid, pathway in ATEC. And I really stuck to pre-production. So storyboarding, character designing, all that stuff, because it did really stick to my roots in illustration. And also motion design, which is probably the most 2D part of animation that you can get at ATEC. I really enjoyed doing that. And even after like graduating, like, yeah, I really want to continue doing motion design because you can literally work in anywhere, like in marketing, advertising, and the film. So there's no limits to creativity when it comes to that.
And thank you for sharing all that as well. And alongside that, other than what you've mentioned, how did being an ATEC student help you pursue those goals?
ATEC student. Okay, so I know for in ATEC, it's more of a build your degree plan type of curriculum. Because, well, as I mentioned before, I did 2 years in design production and 2 years in animation. And I, going into college, I knew nothing about the film industry or the animation industry. I was mainly self taught. I drew for fun, it was like a hobby sort of thing. And ATEC really helped me a lot in teaching me not only like the skills like in industry, but also like the programs and softwares and stuff, because I didn't have access to that before. And also the students in ATEC really helped me learn how to collaborate and work with others. Um, and I actually ended up helping co-found a student group on campus,
Oh yes.
which ended up being like a really big design community just for ATEC, because that didn't exist before.
Yes, and I'm happy AIGA, great
Yes.
organizations. I'm happy that you were able to be a part of that as well. And also, that's just to respond to what you're saying. What I love about the ATEC program is the collaboration. How there's a community there too, and I see how that's benefited you and how and what your journey will be like. So I'm excited to see that. And also, since you did recently graduate, what has post grad been like so far as utilizing your skill set that you've learned?
Yeah. So post grad was a blur. I was one of the online virtual like graduating classes. So it's, I don't know, it's just like a virtual ceremony and just like, oh, you graduated, and then send your diploma in the mail. Um, I personally had a rough time with the virtual, like the virtual education sort of stuff, especially as like an ATEC senior, like my final year, because I really felt disconnected from everyone else, since, like you said, ATEC is like a collaborative space and all that stuff. And right now, I'm just honestly taking a break from school, a gap year, as you call it. Because there have been like highs and lows throughout my undergraduate degree. So I'm just like healing from like that, like, you know, mental health break um, from all that schooling. And right now, I'm just freelance illustrating, and I'm working on a client right now. It's a book project. So an author reached out to me and asked if I could make illustrations for her novel, and I said, yeah, let's work on it. And I'm still working on it now. And yeah, I think I'm finishing in a few weeks. So really excited how that will turn out.
Congratulations on that book project.
Yeah.
And also as well, I love that you mentioned the fact that you are taking a break because there's something I realized myself recently too, just the importance of taking breaks, especially when we're in creative fields as well. Because I remember somebody telling me that we get our creativity from what we do outside of our creative work, interestingly.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you're doing that as well. And it's also, I think
Mhm.
people should take notes on that too, knowing their limits and when to take breaks as well. And also as well, just based on all the experiences you've had, what advice would you give to college students or just people in general?
College students. Yeah, it's right. UTD is going to be in person next semester, I believe. And for like existing students, I totally recommend to reconnect with all of your peers, friends, and faculty, because for me personally, um, graduating a virtual semester my senior year was like the toughest thing ever. And so take advantage of the fact that campus will be open again, and reconnect with your peers. Whatever opportunities that will be available next semester, take advantage of it, and stay diligent with student organizations, because they will still help you. And even though like things are still rusty now, like I don't know, things may be half virtual, half in person, professional development things are still going on. Like don't let that hinder or stop you like getting experience and building up your resume.
I'm love that you mentioned all that because that's what everybody should do, honestly. Just that reconnecting with everybody, especially still being in the pandemic. I would just having those social skills are highly important. And also everything else you said, I'm taking notes myself too on what you're saying. So I appreciate you for saying all that as well. And again, I believe that you're gonna have success in your career. I already know that you know when to take breaks, when to okay, this is when I need to apply myself. And I know it's gonna work out for you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.